Today's show brought to you live from Lounge Media Group Studios. It's Pedro and the Freight Hound with the Logistics Lounge. The views and opinions expressed on this show by its guests are not necessarily those of Lounge Media Group or the show host. So if you sue someone, make sure it's the party responsible for hurting your feelings. Also, grow up, be an adult, and understand not everyone thinks like you. And that's okay.
Yo, what's happening, everybody? We appreciate you joining us on our first Friday show of 2026, and we are just continuing the theme of just freaking awesomeness and coming out swinging. Had J-Rab start us off on Wednesday, and now we have probably the one of our other top 5 people that it's possible we get canceled every time they come on the show. So
Absolutely, dude. I was just thinking that. And then we got PP Poo Poo over here. What's up?
That's what's up.
What's up, J Mark? But yeah, dude, I'm pumped for the show.
Me too, bro. Me too. How you been? How you been since Wednesday, man? What's going on in the reefer world?
Man, same old. You know, just trying to lock down some customers that I you know, had conversations with last year. I say last year, freaking you know, earlier in the fall, and you know, trying to stay afloat, just checking in on customers and taking care of the drivers. You know, beginning of the year stuff. Ready for everybody to get done with inventory and all their auditing and all the yada yada. So yeah, man, that's about it. Can't believe it's already Friday. This week has kind of been slow, but flown by. But how about yourself, man?
That's what's up, dude. I know you're just it's gonna be a little while before you get back into the swing of things. That's one thing that like that I guess I could say kind of envy you that I miss about some of my old like enterprise customers is the damn it, now I just lost the word, but the how far out the lead time on the tenders, you know what I mean? Like knowing your stuff is taken care of like, you know, 3-4 weeks out, man, you know what I mean? And got everything set up and what's going on, and you just got to kind of build from there. So I kind of miss that too. So you're lucky in that little bit of a sense. I was talking about you guys today. Matter of fact, someone was asking me if I knew someone that did reefer in the Northwest, and I was like, yes. And it comes down to Louisiana. I know you don't want the guys to go to Louisiana, but I was like, maybe they will. But
we do go to Louisiana.
No, I figured you would. I mean, but it's -10, and the stuff's like 42,000 pounds every load. And I was like, nah. I was like, unless you're paying them like $5 a mile, I don't think his boss gonna go for that shit.
$5, man. Shit. $500 a mile, more like
yeah, whatever, bro. Yeah. So I don't know what he's paying, dude. Just as you know, I kind of, you know, I know what you guys look for and stuff. And then I was like, man, when he said heavy and -10, I was like, I don't think he won't go for that unless you're paying like crazy money, buddy. So
yeah, I don't know.
We'll see.
Hey, am I frozen right now? My screen.
You are frozen, yes, but I can still hear you. So
okay, cool.
But yeah, I guess when I do the news, you can, you know, hop out, come back in, something like that.
Gotcha.
But me, I'm doing good, bro. I've had a busy week. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people probably had a busy week. This is the, you know, first official full week back in 2026. So, you know, I'm sure a lot of folks in our industry had a busy, but I really did. I didn't expect it because all of my customers told me that they were going to be slow going into January, and like they just came out swinging, dude. So, not complaining, happy about it, man. It's good stuff. And freaking got a new customer today. A plant customer, so really happy about that. They ship mostly like reefer teams and everything, man, like high-end floral stuff. So kind of like what you guys also do, man. So really upset. Matter of fact, I'm just waiting on them to give me my setup page back so I can get them going, dude, and do this load from coast to coast. So, but other than that, doing great, man. Ready for the weekend, broski. Ready for the weekend.
That's right. Well, what we got in the news today?
I will tell you what we got in the news as soon as I figure out, get my crap together here. All right, what we got going in the news? We got something coming from your neck of the woods in Tennessee there, Hunter. So Lounge Media News brought to you by AR Doc Pro and sourced from truckingnewshub.com. All right, Tennessee has told 8,800 CDL holders that they need to prove that they're an American citizen or else. Your people, Hunter, man, the way I'll be talking to folks, bro, I'll be telling you. All right, Tennessee officials notified thousands of commercial driver license holders that they must provide proof of citizenship or lawful presence in the United States in order to ensure compliance with federal licensing requirements. Approximately 8,800 of Tennessee's 150,000 CDL holders will receive notice by mail that they must provide documentation of their citizenship or proof of legal presence in the U.S. in order to comply with U.S. DOT requirements. CDL holders who received the letter but failed to provide the required documents by April 6th, 2026, will be downgraded to a non-CDL until proof is provided. Affected drivers will need to report to state driver services centers in person to provide the documentation, which could include a U.S. passport, birth certificate, certificate of naturalization, or other approved documents. And you can find that information. I'll give you a website for that here at the bottom in a minute. Not all Tennessee CDL holders will receive these notices. They said no action is needed if no letter is received. Only the folks that are meeting these requirements, they're doing this. And this action is designed to ensure that all CDL records meet today's state and federal requirements and are in line with the presidential directive. Drivers whose files predate modern documentation rules will receive instructions on how to complete their records, said Russell Shoup, the Assistant Commissioner of Driver Services Division. And he also added, "We appreciate the cooperation of Tennessee's commercial driving community." Further went on that Tennessee moves to ensure CDL compliance comes after US DOT threatened them and several other states with the loss of millions in transportation funding over failure to comply with tighter federal standards for the issuance of CDLs to non-citizen drivers. All right. Finally, if you have any questions about Tennessee's proof of citizenship requirements for CDL drivers, you can go on to the DOT website for Tennessee, or you can contact cdl.division at TN, that's Tango November.gov. Again, that is cdl.division at tn.gov. If you got any questions. So, and I'm assuming, probably give them a couple of days because I bet they're probably going to get a whole bunch of emails. So there you go, man.
Heck yeah.
Hey, what more can you really say besides it's good to see everyone stepping up doing this. Even my state, Texas, we had some problems and stuff, man. Some things that fell through the cracks here, and we're having to do some of the same stuff. So I'm glad that the states are following through. Besides California and I think New York, said they're not going to do it, but yeah, glad we're getting on top of it, man. So we can make sure that the people who are behind these rigs are supposed to be there.
Yeah. I wonder how they're filtering it out to like who they decide to send letters to and not.
I don't know. I bet it's probably. When you just like your regular driver's license, when you get your CDL, you do the application, you have the, citizen, immigrant, like it probably goes by maybe whatever box they checked, when they filled out their thing for their CDL application. I would make something that's probably it, but I don't know, maybe there's some other things that they're going by. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. Something to look into though, but
yeah. Pretty interesting. So there you go. Alex, I only brought it up because, came from your neck of the woods. So, and that's pretty small percentage too, though, Hunter. 8,800 people out of 150,000, so that's not bad. It's less than 10% there. So, can't be mad at that.
Heck yeah, go Vols. Oh man. Well, you ready to get the show on the road?
I'm ready, bro. Hey, I'm done with my part. I did the news.
All right.
I'm done.
Well, let's go, ladies and gentlemen. Gord, the voice of Gord Magill.
I was riding this 18-wheeler before they painted lines. Never made much money because I couldn't make no time. Used to be a running back.
Didn't pull him up. I told you I couldn't decide whether we should keep him on the screen.
I know.
Hey, boys, how's it going?
What's happening, Gord?
Happy Friday, everybody. Wow, it feels good to be back with one of the best trucking podcasts on the internet, the Logistics Lounge. Look at you two. Look at Pedro ripping a vape like he just never stops.
Oh, I know, man. It's an anxiety thing. It's like 3% Nick. There's like no nicotine in it. So yeah, but I do, man. That's all I do. Rip my vape. There you go, bro.
They don't call him Pedro the Freight Train Peterson for nothing, all right?
That's right.
Hey,
that's right, bro.
Hey, y'all rip the vapes. I rip the road sodies. It's Friday. Everybody get into your after work road soda. Let's go.
Oh, yeah. Look at that. Popping the top, brother. Let's go, Gord. All right.
Let's go. Oh yeah.
He's like,
No, man, no, seriously, I'm pumped. I haven't been invited. Well, I mean, I've written this book, and it's coming out in March. And you guys were the first ones to say, "Hey, Gord, come on the show and talk about the book specifically." So here's to you guys and being forward and proactive and giving me the invite, and I'm happy to be here to talk about it.
Well, we're happy to have you here, man. Always happy to have you, dude. And I mean, it was only fitting, you know. I mean, we were part of the initial group that found out about the book before it was even public. So, you know, it's only fitting that, you know, we be one of the first to have you on to talk about it, man. And we know you're a busy guy, Gord. We know that your assistant told us so. So
You mean me?
But so we're gonna get into it, man, here in a minute. But before we do, let's man, just check up on you. How have you been? I don't know when we had Gord on. It was summer or fall. It hadn't been too long since we had Gord on.
Yeah, I feel like it was like late summer, early fall. I've been busy. I wrapped up the book. I had the sort of rough draft completed in October, early October, and then there was like, you know, there was editing ongoing all the way through it, but it just got more intense. And then, you know, the publisher had their chance to go at it and send me back questions, edits, suggestions, and it went from, I think, 370 pages down to about 300 or so. I mean, including an index and sources and all that stuff. But you know, they did a pretty good job trying to compress it because I'm pretty verbose and I want everybody to know as much details about our industry as possible. And then my publisher wants the book to be less than 300 pages because apparently, and I don't know about this because I've never written a book before, but like, once a book exceeds 300 pages, the sales start going down. And I don't know if that's a function of people's narrowing attention spans or just like a traditional book industry thing. I have no idea. But anyway, it's done. It's going to the typesetters next week. That's it. She's locked and loaded to go to the printers.
Fucking A, man. That's what's up, Gord. We're excited for you, man. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, dude. I was surprised when you said you were gonna write a book. No, not saying that.
So was I.
Not saying that as a dig at all, man. But it's like just knowing all the other things that you got going on, man. You know, with just your own podcast and the Substack and all the side stuff that you do, blah blah blah. It's like, damn, like Gord's really gonna take this on. And honestly, I feel you wrote that damn thing pretty quick because I want to say you told us about it at Matt's right before Matt's, wasn't it?
Yeah. So yeah. I was approached. So my publisher is this new book publishing company called Creed and Culture. They're basically a new startup. There's two partners, a guy named Jeremy Beer and another fellow named Byron Smith. Jeremy's been in the book publishing world for about 25 years. He sort of knows everybody. He worked for a major publisher called ISI for a while. He's a co-founder of a number of websites. And their mission is to publish books that are academic enough that they would like, be in a university press, but not written by academics, and also high quality enough that they would be published by a normal publishing house, but a normal publishing house wouldn't touch you because nobody knows who you are, which is the case with me. I'm just a truck driver, just hanging out in the industry like you guys. So they found my Substack. They picked up what I was putting down, and they thought that, hey, man, like nobody's really talking about the industry in the way that you do. So give us a book proposal. If you were gonna, if we paid you to write a book, what would you say? And I was a bit floored and taken aback that anybody would offer me money to do this. And I mean, you know, I'm a loudmouth and I'm a bit of an opinion merchant, and that's why I started my Substack. But like, you know, write a book? What? Like that's a bit heavy.
I know.
So I organized my thoughts for a couple days. I laid out a proposal for them. I sent it to them, and they said, "Go, do it." So here we are.
Oh yeah, man, that's crazy, man. Dude, Gord, you're one of those people, man. Like your stories are just like if I don't know if there wasn't proof and pictures to back it up, boy, people would think you were just full of it because you just have the most crazy meetings and interactions, and it's nuts how, and I wouldn't say things fall in your lap, but like how you just seem to be going in the way where someone is waiting. It's like, I've been looking for someone, and there's Gord coming, walking along.
There's a saying about something like, success equal is opportunity meeting effort or something. I don't know, man. Like, I never intended to do this, right? Like, the first thing I ever wrote on the internet, okay, back in 2017 was for a little tiny blog I used to hang out in the comments section of. And I would always do little replies about trucking mostly because that's the only thing I know. It's the only thing I've ever done. And the guys that ran this website, glibertarians.com, shout out Glibs, they said, hey, man, can you write something for us on trucking? Like, it sounds like you have some experience with it. So, all right, Charles. Hey, guys, not in the right mood. All right, well, have a good Friday, Charles. Have some road sodas. Maybe you'll get there.
He's got something else going on. We understand, Charles. We love you, bro. Appreciate you just for checking in, man.
Yeah, no, thank you. Hello, buy my book. So anyway, I write this thing for this little website, and it got like 350 comments, and it was reposted on some other big name blogs, and I was like, oh wow, cool, that's interesting. And then I didn't write anything again for a couple of years, and then I started fooling around with Twitter in 2018 or 19, and I met this guy named Oliver Bateman who writes all over the place, and he used to be the co-host of this defunct podcast called What's Left. And he had me on his show twice, and then COVID happened, and Freedom Convoy happened, and I don't know. Like I went home to Ottawa. You guys know this story. I went home to Ottawa. Just to express some solidarity with my fellow truckers and Canadians, and I posted a few videos to Twitter, and I got home a few days later, and Newsweek is calling me saying, "Hey man, you want to write something for us?" I'm like, okay.
All right, Gord. Don't hey, since I can tell you're about to go this way, I don't mean to stop you, Gord, because I can tell you're about to get into exactly what I want to say, or where I want to push the conversation initially. We know you. Most of the people watching this show right now, I know you, but there's some that don't. So, you coming on here and just talking about some book you wrote about truck driving, for people that don't know anything, all they're looking at is some handsome guy with glasses on, said, I wrote a book about trucking. Oh, never mind. I'll take the handsome part back. There we go. So, not to take a crazy amount of time, Gord, because we know your story is immense and stuff, but give us a good cliff notes about who is Gord, man. What is your history in trucking, how you got into it, and then bring us back to the story you were just about to say with Newsweek, and then keep going.
Right. Okay. So, my history in trucking, Cliff's Notes version. I am a third generation trucker. Grandpa, as I always say on all podcasts, landed a Sherman at Normandy, drove across Europe in a Sherman, kicked some ass, took some names, survived to tell the tale. Driving a tank and fixing it are transferable skills to trucks. So after he came home from the war, he got into trucking, and then so did my uncles and my dad. My uncle Chris is 82. He started one of Canada's first freight brokerages. Retired, sold out his half of the business to his partner. His partner then sold it on to these other guys, and then it became Uber Freight Canada. So Uber Freight Canada is built on the bones of the company my uncle started. My other uncle Bruce, drove logging trucks and heavy equipment around in the bush in northwestern Ontario, hauled out of a mine in the Yukon, hitchhiked all over the place when he was a kid, just like I did. And then my dad has been a trucker his whole life as well, so I just sort of fell into, I don't want to say I fell into it, but I was certainly heavily influenced by my dad, my uncles, and my grandpa. And I started working for a trucking company not far from where I live when I was about 16. Nights and weekends and summertime, worked at a truck stop, got my license as soon as I turned 18, started running around Southern Ontario, Toronto, Hamilton, London. Kind of was sort of quasi apprenticeship program. I was trained correctly, unlike how most people get into the trucking business today, because I worked for people who are smart and know what they're doing. And I think everybody should operate that way. And worked for them locally for a couple of years, and they would start sending me to Quebec and down to Michigan and into New York or Ohio or something, sort of regional stuff. And then I went traveling for a bit when I was younger, and then I went OTR, and then I went to New Zealand and started hauling logs. And then I came back home, and a buddy of mine from New Zealand came with me, and me and him drove all over North America for like a year or so. And we went and ran the ice. And I started doing a lot of seasonal trucking after I went to the Northwest Territories. I really enjoyed the ice roads, did 4 seasons up there. Started working for some other guys in Alberta and Saskatchewan. Hauled grain, fertilizer, all kinds of stuff across the prairie. And then moved back to Ontario, hauled fuel, went back to work for Paddocks, hauled airplane wings and a bunch of other stuff around Toronto for Bombardier and de Havilland. And I don't know. I've just been in trucking my whole life. I got an opportunity to go to Australia about 11 years ago. So I went to 12 years ago now, actually. Went to Western Australia, drove road trains up and down the West Coast. Did some outback trucking. Went to places like Newman and Karratha and Dampier and Broome and Broken Hill and up the Flinders Ranges. I was kind of all over the place. And then I came home with my wife, and I've been living in the United States ever since. My wife is American. And did some trucking here, hauled logs, hauled propane, hauled some fuel. And then, I don't know, the sort of writing stuff started happening on the side. All the weird stuff we've been experiencing in the trucking industry as of late started happening. I went home to support the Freedom Convoy, came back. After starting to fool around with Twitter, I was offered hey, can you write us an opinion editorial about your experiences in Ottawa? Because it seems like the Canadian media are calling all you guys names and it doesn't seem right. And what's your position? So I wrote this thing at Newsweek, and then I ended up writing 15 more articles for Newsweek. And then I ended up writing for the American Conservative and Unheard. And then this DC think tank called American Compass had me write a bunch of essays for them. I think I wrote 4 different things for them. And then, the Blaze, I don't know. I started writing things and people asked me to keep writing stuff. So I said yes. As many other people throughout history have said, the key to success is saying yes and then figuring out the rest of the details later. So people asked me to write. I said yes. So that's how I ended up writing about the industry. And that's my sort of Cliff's Notes backstory, lifetime in trucking. There you go.
Damn it, son. Let's freaking go. Let's go, Gord. Whew. You're the only other person we know that's trucked on multiple continents besides
Right.
Dean Croak. And coincidentally, he also trucked in Australia. Look at that. It's awesome, bro.
There's a
Crazy.
small handful of us. It's a club. It's not a huge club, and it's not a small club, but it's a club.
Well, it's freaking pretty damn awesome, man, for you to drive on multiple continents, dude. Enough to do a shake stick at right there. So, all right, Gord. Let's talk about, before we say, really, I guess, dig into the book. I mean, you kind of touched on, you had the, these guys from the publishing come to you and, kind of offer you this, but, obviously you've had to have been kind of sitting on this some way, man. Like I know you, Gord, you must have been sitting on this to do a long form article on it or something, you know what I mean? So what was the driving force behind the idea of the book and why put the book out, man? With all the other stuff you do, you've written for all these places, have all these outlets that you can use, why decide to finally move to the book?
Right. So, again, as I mentioned earlier, this new publishing house, press, whatever you want to call it, they kind of read a bunch of my stuff on Substack and then saw my writings at other places. And I think they saw something that, like, because I'm basically retarded, I didn't see myself, is that there's a sort of arc here in the recent history of trucking, and that arc is not always necessarily good. And they said, you write about this industry in a way with a certain level of passion, and clearly you're heavily invested in it, and like you talk about various nuances that are not present in the rest of the media. So like we think you could write a book. And when I was first introduced to my editor, so there's like the publishers, and then they hire an editor to work with me. And so my editor guy went and basically read everything I ever wrote. He just like spent like a couple of days reading everything I've ever put down. And he said to me, he's like, look, man, you've already written the book. It's already there. Like, you have all these experiences. Clearly, you know something about what's going on here. Some of it's obviously your opinion. It's experiential. But, like, you've got something here already. So just take all of this stuff you've already written, grab some of it, rework it, add to it, expand on it, write new stuff, fill in the gaps. But he's like, you have a body of work, so it's just a matter of incorporating that into a narrative storyline that people can follow, and then just, add new stuff where necessary. And so I did. I just, I grabbed some stuff. I started over new with stuff. And as I was writing it, when you guys get to read it, it comes out in March. It's 15 chapters. So like intro, 13 chapters, conclusion, and I think 11 of the 13 chapters start off with a story either from my career or my dad's, or like something that like I'm like physically related to use as a jumping off point, right? Because one of the things about the stuff that I do write for various magazines is it's like technical, right? It's technical in a way, because it's industry specific, and I have a very straightforward style, and I like to like beat people over the head with facts and figures to make sure that like when I make an argument about something, I'm not just like pulling it out of my ass, right? Like I like to back it up. I like to construct my argument. People can tell me I'm wrong, and they can argue with me if they want. That's fine. Come back at me with your facts and figures. Let's have a discussion. Sometimes people don't do that. They get blocked. But that gets boring, right? Like you can't write like there's enough technical academic books out there that university people put out all the time. And then I quoted them in the book often, because one of the things, you guys listen to my podcast, one of the things I've been doing for the last few years, sort of on the side by myself before this book thing ever happened, before Substack, I started writing on Substack, was reading books about trucking by academics, by people who are being paid by their university or think tank or whoever to study truckers, trucking, logistics, supply chains, and then they give their, analysis, findings, conclusions about what's actually going on, right? Because like we see stuff out there in the industry, right? Like, recently there's been a lot of people moving into the industry in America from other countries. There's this like weird driver shortage narrative. There's like safety tech impositions. There's, in the background with brokers, there's freight tech. There's all these things that are happening in the trucking industry, and they're very dynamic. And, they're not all, it's not always immediately apparent how or why they're connected, or where it came from, or why it exists, or why things are happening. And so for my own personal edification, I started reading these like academic textbooks on trucking, right? Like Sweatshops on Wheels by Stephen Belzer, or Michael Belzer. The Big Rig by Steve Viscelli, who's been on your guys' show with me. It's like, Viscelli's great. There's a sub school at the University of Minnesota where they do nothing but do studies and write papers on truckers and trucking. So I started reading all their stuff. There's a lady here at Cornell, Karen Levy, put out a really awesome book called Data Driven Truckers, Technology, and the New Workplace Surveillance, which was extremely important to me because one of my big beefs with the trucking industry is the fucking the nanny statism control. You must be monitored. ELDs, Qualcomm's. You're a moron, and we can't trust you to do anything anymore. I came into the industry just before all that shit started happening, and I grew up around an industry that didn't have it, and it worked better. Why do we need this stuff? So I read her book to figure out, what's going on with that stuff. And so with my own book, I take all of these issues in trucking, right? Every single chapter is a different issue in the business. I start with a story from my own career that like rubs up against that issue or it's involved in it directly. Then I go to the academics, the writings of others, stories in the industry. And, I reference a lot of our friends. Rachel Premack from Freightwaves is in the book. Danielle Schaffen, Justin, Super Trucker Martin, he's out there listening. Shout out Super Trucker. The guys at Freightwaves, the guys at Overdrive, numerous other studies. I just take all of this stuff that's like, data points and analysis about what's going on with trucking, hook it into my own career, and then use that as a way to explain what the fuck is going on here. You know what I'm saying?
Watch your language, Gord. It's a family show. Oh man, dude. First I just want to say one of my favorite things about you, Gord, is your passion, man, and just period. Not even for the industry, man. Anyone that knows you, that is a friend of Gord Magill, like you're just a passionate guy, bro. Everything you do with passion, and you give it your all, man. So I can't wait for the book. I'm not gonna lie, I haven't pre-ordered it yet, but as soon as we get off the show, I will go. Are you mailing them out? If we pre-order, are you mailing them? Is that what's happening? I assume, Gord, or what?
Pardon me?
Pre-order the book. I assume if you pre-order it, they just get mailed to you. Okay. All right. Cool. Well, I didn't know.
It's if you go to creedandculture.com, hold on, I'm gonna get the link up here and I'll repeat it. creedandculture.com/books/ end of the road inside the war on truckers.
Oh my God. Holy. Okay. I'm just going to go.
I mean, and no, that's
only go to their website. We're just going to make this easy. Holy shit.
Oh, man.
I love you, Gord. Golly,
I know I talk too much, even when I'm trying to explain a website.
No, bro. It's absolutely amazing.
But yeah, you can do that. You can go to it's on Amazon. I would prefer if people went directly to my publishing company's website. It's the same price. If you go through Amazon, they take 10 or 20% to give to people who are making the industry worse. If you go directly to my publisher, I get that money instead of Jeff Bezos. So, yeah.
There we go. We got it scrolling across the bottom of the screen here. And to make it simple, just Google Creed and Culture Publisher. When you go to their site, go to books, and Gord's is like the
I think it's the third or fourth book.
The 50th book. It's the third book down. It is. It's the third book down into the road, inside the war on truckers. But we do have the link scrolling across the bottom of the screen. So if you're watching, you can type it in there. All right, Gord. So let's kind of dig in to the book a little bit, man. Maybe pick a few chapters that really near and dear to your heart. Or whatever you want, but let's talk about some of the things specifically in the book, man, and tell us why those specific things, why were they important to you to include in this, out of all the things, because you said you took these from your writing. So of all the shit that you've written, all the podcasts you've been on, all the things that you've been involved in, I'm sure it wasn't easy to choose 13 individual topics or chapters to put in this. So give us a few, man, some ones that, like I said, near and dear to you, and tell us, why those and about what we can expect in those chapters.
Right. No, that's a great question. There's a lot there. So so I'll say this: the book itself is a hypothesis. So it's sort of like a PhD dissertation in a way, but not really. It's also autobiographical, but it starts with a question. So since I started writing, I had a conversation one time with this guy that runs the think tank in DC, and he said to me, he's like, man, like, there's something going on with this freedom convoy thing that doesn't sit right with me. He's like, it can't just be about the vaccine mandates. Like it's all truckers. Like mostly, obviously, there was farmers and other people, and the supporters came from all walks of life. But it was led. The charge was led by truckers. And he says there has to be something else going on here. And I said, you know what, you're right. And I said, truckers as a group of workers, as a group of self-employed business people, however you want to classify yourselves, if you're owner, operator, lease op, driver, whatever, have been like, I said to this guy, I'm like, yeah, they've kind of been under attack, for many years, our wages have sort of stagnated. But it seems like right now we're being forced to compete with the third world. We're regulated out the wazoo, even though many of these problems came from supposed deregulation of the industry. And, Michael Belzer talks about this in his book. It's like, yeah, they deregulated the business side. They just transferred it all to social regulation, which is everyone getting chased by the cops. You have to have a human resources department, ELDs, all this crap, because they no longer regulate the business side of trucking, and that opened the business up to a whole lot of morons. So now they have to overregulate the operational side of trucking. So I'm explaining it to this guy, and I said to him, I'm like, I think although the Freedom Convoy was already about things much deeper than the vaccine mandates, it was also about Canada and how badly everybody was suffering under COVID. But it's also, I think, in the fact that it was truckers, that it's also a little bit about how badly truckers have been treated in broad terms. So the book starts with like me describing crossing the border, going to Ottawa, hanging out with my friends, taking part in the convoy, and then coming back home and trying to like sort this question out. And so I say, like the point of this book is to say, why truckers? And is this the end of the road, right? Like it's two questions kind of wrapped into one. And then chapter 1 is like an introduction of me. I try and tell the reader, like, who the fuck am I to talk about this? So I do the whole family history thing. Talk about my dad, my grandpa, my uncles, various trucking companies I've worked for. I try and introduce the reader to who I am. And then I get into the issues. One that's sort of near and dear to me right now, I wanted to like put this one a little bit further into the book, but my editor and my publisher insisted that it be chapter 2 because they thought it was so good. Like after all the introductions are done. And it's based on this story of when I'm trucking in Australia, I picked up these 3 hitchhikers. And they're these guys wearing the Bavarian carpenters outfits that like, there's this little place north of Perth called Ginger's Roadhouse. And when I was trucking to Perth up to Karratha and Dampier, I used to stop there, check my load, check everything out. It's only 20 minutes away from the yard, but like everything's settled, tarps are settled, whatever, you pull over, you check, you have a whiz, get a coffee, whatever, away you go. And so I pull into Ginger's one day and I pick, and these guys approach me and they say, hey, sir, can me and my friends get a ride with you going north? And I'm like, I guess, sure, why not? And so I have these guys, the journeymen. You found the fellow. Yep. That's the boys. So these guys in the costumes, they are German carpenters, okay? And in the trades, you have this term called journeyman, right? It means that you have completed an apprenticeship. You have gone through training and you're a certified whatever, carpenter, welder, electrician. And these guys were telling me about the history of this term journeyman because it comes from this like 15th, 16th century practice of German or Bavarian carpenters you would like travel around, and you had to carry a passport, identifying yourself as a journeyman. You had to wear the outfits, and the whole deal was that after you had completed 3 years of apprenticeship working for a carpenter, you would then go on the journey and travel around Bavaria and exchange your services for food and lodging. You weren't allowed to charge money. And that way you would learn skills from other carpenters, not just the one you had done your apprenticeship with. And then you would help people build their houses. You would get to see another part of the country. You would complete the journey. So to this day, this 500-year-old practice, that's where we get the term journeyman as it applies to trade school, right? So I take this story of picking these guys up, and then I compare it to the utterly fucking decrepit and piss poor CDL mill program we have in the United States, right? Because these journeyman guys are asking me like how truck drivers get trained, and I tell them about like how I got trained at this, a smart company in Canada that did things properly. But then most truck drivers in the United States and Canada are actually trained by scummy fucking shitbag corporate welfare whores who don't teach you anything except how to pass the test and then throw you off the deep end and send you down the road not knowing fucking anything, right? So that's like chapter 2.
God dang,
Oh, yeah.
Gord. Can you, bro? Again, I love Gord's passion, man, and we're gonna get into this later. But can you imagine? He's recording his own fucking audiobook. Can you imagine listening to this fucking guy, bro, yelling at you in your truck while you're driving down the road, bro? I bet people gonna pull like a truck stop and have Gord's audiobook on. They're gonna get out and they're like, "Damn, dude, is that your fleet manager yelling at you?" No, man.
Oh man, no. So I feel that. So the guy, the studio. So I have my little podcast rig here, which is nothing except my laptop, my Sony headset, and this like blue snowball thing that I got that for free. I bought these from Sony, and like that's it. That's all I have. I don't have a studio. It's pretty lo-fi. So my publisher is working with like a professional audiobook company, and they said, dude, you need to get a studio. So it just so happens to be where I live in Ithaca. There's like a ton of bands around. There's a huge music scene here. And a friend of ours, a gentleman and his wife are in a bunch of different bands. And he has a music studio built into a barn on his property 3 miles away from me. So like I get to literally record the audiobook with like a local homeboy and keep some money in my local economy. But this poor guy's going to be sitting at the control table, probably getting baked out of his mind, having to listen to me spout off about my book, and he's not a trucker and he's normally recording music. So like, he's great. He does good stuff. He's a total pro. I just don't know like how long I'm going to keep him awake while I'm doing this.
That's awesome. Well, so I guess like kind of going back to your Australian days, like how much of your experiences in driving in other countries like influenced pieces of the book, because like we had our buddy Miles on, he's a driver in Australia, and the stuff he was telling us is like fascinating. How you have to rank up in your licenses, based on weight, and once you drive a couple years, then you're kind of in your own seat. And yeah, I mean, was any of that like big influence for what you're seeing here in the States?
Yeah, so obviously my various experiences in trucking, whether they're in Canada, the United States, New Zealand, or Australia, they inform how I view this stuff. And I just mentioned picking up these hitchhikers, the journeyman thing. One of the things I figured out about Australia and New Zealand the very first time I went to Oz in like 1999 is that they have a graduated truck licensing system, which is based on size and weight of truck, amount of time between classes, and it's not an officially recognized apprenticeship system, but it kind of functions as one, right? So like, you cannot in Australia, you cannot just show up and like say, okay, I'm going to a CDL mill and then go drive a truck. It's not possible. They're having a little problem in Australia right now in the way we are with scamming in order to bring in source labor in order to artificially suppress people's rates. So there's a little loophole exemption where if you show up in Australia from other countries and you have some verifiable experience in another country with a certain weight class of truck, you can bypass their graduated licensing system. And the usual suspects, so I'll leave it at that, are trying to scam that system in Australia. To give you an idea of how tight that system was, when I went there in 2004, I tried to pull this off and it didn't work, but I went and did it anyway. I had like a New Zealand Class 5 license. I took a road train upgrade course at like a technical college. I spent thousands of dollars, couple of week thing, got my hazmats, forklift ticket, did all the things for Australia to be certified. And then like, you know, they mean business. Like you are taking a road train, like a set of double road trains, and you have to like drive up this friggin' mountain outside of Adelaide towards the Adelaide Hills and then come back down it without touching your brakes at 80% loading. Like it's not just like single axle with a little pup trailer, back it up in a lot somewhere. Like you actually have to demonstrate that you know what you're doing. So I do that in 2004. I ended up not getting a work visa. It didn't work out. Come home, carry on with life. Go back to Australia in 2014. Even though I had a license from South Australia to drive road trains, and I go to Western Australia, they would not accept it. I had to go and prove again that I knew what I was doing, take another road test, pay $800 out of my own pocket to show that like I know what I'm doing, right? And there's no, like the Australians have it pretty buttoned down. Like they don't want morons driving trucks on their roads. Now, you can talk to like Mike Williams from the Aussie on the Road Trucking podcast, and he will tell you that their system is being subverted and there's loopholes and they're having lots of problems right now. But in general, they have this like graduated system. When I was in New Zealand hauling logs, you know, like New Zealand's geography is so different than everywhere else. The roads are very narrow, very windy, lots of curves and corners and hills and mountains and valleys. And like driving in New Zealand is like driving in like the hills of Northern California or Oregon or something, right? But like it's all super narrow, lots of elevation changes. It requires a technical operational skill that like if you went to some CDL mill here in the United States and got like an automatic driver's license or whatever, like there's no way that anybody in New Zealand is going to let you drive a truck there because you have no idea what you're doing, right? So when it was a humbling experience. So when I went to New Zealand in 2002, I'm 23, I'm wet behind the ears. Yes, I've been driving truck in Canada for 5 years, but like I had to relearn how to drive when I was in New Zealand. I had to relearn how to get the most operational effectiveness out of a truck. And I had to like relearn like driving for safety because you're coming down a volcano with 40 or 60 tons of log behind you. And like, it's up to you not to die while doing that, right? Like there's just like, because they have this graduated licensing system there and there's a much more practical approach to this, it's just different. And I thought to myself, like, why don't we do that here? That will clear out most of the assholes, right? Like, if you cannot pass an Australian road train licensing test on the road and, like, you know, actually drive down hills with, like, 2 trailers behind you fully fucking loaded and get down that hill without touching your brakes, because if you touch your brakes, you fail, that's a great way to, like, screen out so many bad drivers, so many unskilled drivers. Like, please, if you're a bad driver or an unskilled driver, I'm not saying don't go trucking. I'm saying go actually get skilled and figure out what you're doing before you come into the industry. And in America, it's reverse. It's, we don't care what you know. You have a pulse. You can pass the minimum state test. You are now an OTR trucker. Go forth. And, you know, one of the messages I try and get across in the book is that it doesn't have to be that way. And I also sort of lay out the history of how it came to be that way. And then I bounce it off my experiences in other countries.
So, I'm going to get you going here. I'm going to keep you going, but get you going even further on this topic that you're talking about. One comment I want to make is about something you said there at the end. You know, about the schools here. You know how sad is, well, I'm going to say, yes, how sad is it that even in our professional training, i.e., the truck driving schools, they become just like the schools for our children, where all they do is teach you how to pass a test in America. They're not actually teaching you anything anymore. Nothing you can really fucking use in the real world, you know, like balancing a checkbook or, you know, how to make yourself more than a bologna sandwich. But, you know, as long as you can pass that test at the end of the year, that's or, you know, at the end of your 4-week driving school, that's really all they care about. So talking about the differences, or you've been talking about the differences, you know, in the training and stuff between these two places, you know, over there in New Zealand and Australia and here in America. Hunter touched on it. You know, we had Miles on the show, you know, Miles, and he had said all these things that you have said. And we obviously didn't know this. I'm pretty sure 99% of the drivers here in America and the people watching the show do not know the difference in how it is to get your CDL somewhere else. So I use that to lead into, you know, I know my answer to this, but do you think we should be replicating those standards and those training systems or licensing, training and licensing systems, processes, protocols, whatever that like you experienced over there in Australia? Do you think that would get us and keep us a better quality driver over here in North America? I won't even say the States, because, you know, I mean, let's be honest, they do the same shit up in Canada too.
Yeah. No. The problems in North America are similar. I would say that we fundamentally, we need serious licensing reform. Okay. The problem is that we're all driving on the same roads, right? You know, sorry to my libertarian bros that are all about, you know, who will build the roads? Maybe we should privatize them. You know, it's not up to the government to do this stuff. Okay, yeah, fine. However, the government has a monopoly on the roads. They're in charge. Car drivers and truck drivers, I don't think that the barrier to entry and the skill level requirements are high enough. And that's reflected in our accident statistics. That's reflected in collisions. And, you know, down under, they call it the road toll. Here, we would call it like fatalities, right? Too many people are getting killed. Too many people are getting even in like non-fatal incidents and like property damage and trucks rolling over and flipping over. You know, there's been a lot of talk on FreightX and in the media this year. 2025 has been a crazy year in trucking, especially with all of the sort of in-source labor stuff being exposed. And, you know, if somebody like immigrates to the U.S., does it legally, wants to get into trucking, like, okay, fine, go do it. I'm not here to say don't. I'm here to say do it the way we do, assimilate. If you're going to come to America and you're going to go trucking, you're going to come to Canada, you're going to go trucking, great. Learn the language, get trained properly, do it the way we do it. Don't go work for some Uzbek gangster or some Somali gangster or some really dodgy company that doesn't care whether or not you've been trained, doesn't care whether or not you can communicate with your customers, the general public, enforcement officials, doesn't train you on the proper safety aspects of operation, of pre-tripping, checking your vehicle, you know, constantly. You have to be constantly checking your vehicle, right? Like one of the things in like the world of safety, you know, pre-trip. Yes, you must pre-trip your truck. That's extremely important. You must be pre-tripping it constantly. You have to be getting out every time you stop to go pee or get fuel. Check all your tires. Check everything. You need to be constantly checking your truck. That's not taught to people. Also, like, I'm sorry, there's this personality type who's more suited to trucking. You need to be conscientious. You need to have safety front of mind. somebody that got like sent here from another country under a dodgy work arrangement where the people who are sending you down the road aren't even in the country, don't know our rules, don't give a shit, and they just throw you in a truck, they're not getting the safety conscientious people. The CDL mills, you know, I talk about something else I talk about in the book. You know, I had Desiree Wood and Tammy Stubble from Real Women of Trucking. They like gave me a little bit to put in there. That like the in the history of the American Trucking Associations and their driver shortage narrative has produced a training system that's not actually focused on safety. They talk about it, but they don't actually do it, right? Let's find, the fucking ATA with this, they put out a white paper in July. I'm like halfway through writing the book, and then they drop this huge steaming turd in front of us. It's like, hey, let's spend 8 pages talking about how we can get kids aging out of foster care and put them in trucks. Like, they're not talking about, let's bring a graduated licensing system from Australia or New Zealand to make sure that we actually have safe drivers so that like we can eliminate just throwing people on the road that don't know what they're doing. That's not what they're talking about. They're talking about taking advantage of vulnerable people because they know that nobody's putting up with their shit and signing up to be truck drivers anymore, which is part of the reason why we have this like in-sourced labor thing, because everyone is wise to the scam now about CDL mills, lease operating, that certain actors within the trucking industry, not everybody, but certain actors in the trucking industry do not actually care about safety, do not actually care about their drivers, do not care about anything except making money. And they're not thinking long-term about the sort of continuity of the industry, right? Like, I talk a lot in my book. When you guys read my book, I talk about my family in it constantly. I talk about my grandpa. I talk about my uncles. I talk about my dad, fucking constantly. By the time you're done reading this book, you're gonna get sick about me talking about my dad and my uncles and the Paddocks and all of these people in my life who do things correctly, who are forward thinking, who want trucking to be a viable industry that we can teach people into the future to do safely, to make money, to be of service to the rest of the economy. Forward thinking, doing things right. Constantly, every single chapter, somewhere I squeeze that in. The people running the trucking industry now, the regulators regulating the industry now, do not think like that. That's part of the reason why I wrote the book. I want them to take much more like, let's think about the future. Let's think about continuity. Let's think about safety in a real way. Not, put your high vis on before you get out of the truck. No, get your fucking ass under there and actually test your slack adjusters and check all of your airlines. And, Justin's famous meme from Twitter. Did you tug it today, driver? Right? Like, there's all of this stuff that people are not taught. Like, hey, let's actually show people how to put tire chains on so that when they end up on Donner Pass, they don't get stuck. Look at this TV show. They cut this part out of the book, but whatever. There's editing and whatnot. Highway Through Hell, about those towing guys in British Columbia on the Coquihalla Pass, right? If every single truck driver in America and Canada were trained properly about how to chain up, or just parking it for the night, reading the fucking warning signs when you're going down Highway 1 in BC and hope that says, this pass, this hill, chain law here, this one's closed, go this way. Like, route planning, how to actually chain up, how to actually drive in the mountains. We're not teaching people to do that. We are teaching people to pass a test on how to back up a 24-foot pup trailer in a dry gravel lot to the basics, bullshit standards of state CDL exams, right? I want that to change. So if there's like a theme running through the book, it's like, let's think about the future. Let's think about safety for real, not safety bullshit.
So on that, if nothing changes, where do you see the industry like a decade from now, let's say?
Well, I guess that depends. Is it going to change? I'm very I'm very bullish, as they say, on Secretary Duffy. He's making the right moves. He's doing some good things. Unfortunately, for Secretary Duffy and the FMCSA under Mr. Bars, the problems are so deep, so entrenched, and have been around so long that it's going to take them a long time to clean it all up, and it's going to take regulatory and rule changes that are sort of beyond them. I think some of this like spending stuff, like money given away to training programs and, you know, the sort of constellations of like NGOs and nonprofits that give money away to CDL mills and shit. That stuff is outside of their purview, but there's just like, when I see somebody like Duffy that's listening to us and wanting to do things legitimately, I'm I'm optimistic about what the trucking industry will look like in 10 years. But then sometimes, you know, Duffy says things that annoy the shit out of me about like, you know, hey, we're going to have autonomous trucks. Like, you know, never mind Duffy. JD Vance gave this interview. I don't know if many people here in trucking world heard it, but I listened to it back in the summer and I like got a transcript of it and I quote it in the book, where JD Vance is talking to this guy from the New York Times named Ross Douthat, who's their sort of like in-house token conservative. And Douthat has this very lengthy, it's a great interview. Everybody should go listen to it. And he's talking to JD Vance and, you know, sort of like, you know, populist politics. What do we do about the working class? What do we do about all these technological changes in society? And Vance talks about autonomous trucks and he talks about truck drivers. And I wanted to reach through the fucking my earbuds and like wring him by his neck because Vance, and I like JD Vance. I think he's got the right instincts and, you know, he's the man for the hour. But it seemed to me like he had gone to a corporate presentation put on by the autonomous vehicle companies and accepted it into his brain without question, right? Like, I was a little bit disappointed in Vance on not pushing back on some of this stuff and not being a bit more skeptical. That's also in the book. But if Secretary Duffy keeps doing what he's doing and Derek Bars smartens up and fires everybody at FMCSA who ever worked for the ATA before, and they listen to more truckers and they hire Danielle and they, you know, hire Rob Carpenter and they just listen to us, I'm optimistic. If they keep doing the same shit with the same bureaucratic regulator fuckwits who are listening to the ATA, we're doomed.
So, I mean, yeah, we reached out a decade. So, like, let's talk about immediate, you know. So what's one reform that you think would make immediate change, you know, from Senator, I mean, outside of what you just said, you know, with clearing house, but you know, you're talking about Trump being in prison and like all this, you know?
I mean, this is a long shot, but I would immediately stop every single penny of federal funding to truck driver training. Like, I would just stop it, all of it, except for veterans. I get it. You served your country. You did the thing. You want to go to truck driving school on Uncle Sam? Fair play to you. Everybody except vets gets cut off from all federal or state funds for truck driving school. Sorry. I know that sounds unfair to people trying to get a job. The problem is that system has become and I called it this in an article I wrote a couple of years ago, it's stealth corporate welfare. They use that to train more people, and then those people quit within a year, and that system allows the mega carriers and the large fleets to not change anything about how they do business because they just keep getting new people. And it doesn't cost them anything because you and I and other taxpayers are paying for it. So I think if there was one thing that would fundamentally rock the trucking industry in America to its core and result in very quick changes, tell all these corporate welfare licking motherfuckers your truck driving schools are no longer getting a single dime of taxpayer money. Full stop.
And I mean, and to add to that one part right there, you know, it's also wrought with fraud, man. Anything backed by government dollars, anything, I don't care what it is, if it's fucking daycare centers or food stamps. if government dollars are involved, someone is fraud. Someone is committing fraud against that system, and it's also how we're getting the CDL mills. That's how we're getting them. Never mind. I'm not going to go deep dive further than that because I could so go down a hole about how these people come over here and they get our tax dollars to open up businesses as a refugee.
And we don't get that.
And we don't get any of that. American tax dollars to open a business. When I'm not throwing shade at that, some of those people, I know folks that came over here during the Kosovo stuff in the 90s did that, and they had successful stuff. But the point is, anything backed by government dollars is wrought with fraud. That's how we get these CDL mills where they're pushing drivers out after 2 weeks, putting these folks on the road that don't know what they're doing, so forth and so on. So it's a really large problem. And to your point, that does sound like an extreme, Gord, but I mean, dude, sometimes the extreme is the only solution or answer to a problem,
Well, so I mean, but there's precedent for this in American history, right? So, Calvin Coolidge, President Calvin Coolidge, right? They called him Silent Cal because he didn't speak very much. He was very economical with his rhetoric, and he didn't talk a lot, right? Contrast that with like Donald Trump or Barack Obama. Obama was praised as some kind of like nouveau orator, and Trump is all over social media, and Trump does what Trump does. Calvin Coolidge barely ever talked, and he barely ever did anything, right? Like, Coolidge sort of understood that, like, the government that governs less governs best. And there was some kind of like major crop failure, agricultural problem during his tenure, and the entire goddamn country was like, "Oh, President Coolidge, you have to bail us out. You have to help us." He's like, "That's not the government's job. That's up to you guys to figure it out. This is America. You work together, voluntary associations, the whole de Tocqueville, democracy in America. You guys work your shit out. I'm just here to like steer the ship and make sure we're all safe and, everything runs. But within that, it's on you." And so like Coolidge is like, "No, I'm not helping you." So we need a president. We need a government when, the American Trucking Associations comes to them and says, "We need you guys to do this. We need you to care about our fake driver shortage narrative." We need Congress to laugh them out of the fucking room. And we need President Trump and Secretary Duffy to say, "No, that's your problem. You guys are free market. Figure out your own problems with drivers. That's not our problem, man. Like, get out of here. Have fun. And if you don't like it, go out of business. Labor is a commodity like any other. If you can't get drivers, maybe you need to pay them more. Oh, you don't want to pay them more? That's your problem, not the government's. We need the government to do less, right?" It's real simple. It sounds kind of libertarianish, but like, where in the Constitution, where anywhere does it say that the American trucking industry must be supported by the American taxpayer? Someone show that to me, please.
I mean, it obviously doesn't exist, Gord, but I think I believe that I can't think of the term I'm trying to look for, but I don't want to say stigma. That's not the right. Maybe it is, but the basis behind that, man, is the importance that everyone has put on the American supply chain, which it is. It is extremely vital, and then you further that with people like the ATA and these other folks with this driver shortage crap, which I got my CDL in 2008, and even though I didn't go through school because I went through training in the Army, I got out, I took a CDL test by myself, and I got with a company that put me through on the road training and blah, blah, blah. But, even that stuff, man, God dang, I just completely lost my train of thought. Boom, it's gone. I'm done, bro. I'm done. Completely gone. I completely lost train of thought. It left that quickly. There you go.
Well, hey, Pedro, all right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pick up what you just put down about supply chains. I'm going to like steer the conversation a little bit to another thing I talk about in the book, and a guy I had on my podcast. Maybe you guys should have him on too. His name is David Carell.
Oh, we've had him on. We had Dave Carell on.
Right. Oh, good. That's
I
right.
hooked you. I hooked him
Oh,
up with
yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah.
He,
I'm
he
ass
came,
backwards.
yeah. He
I
came
am.
to me for you.
I'm jackknifed into the ditch here, man. You sent him to me. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So David Carell, MIT data scientist. He's no longer at MIT. He's moved on with his career. But while he was there, you know, he talked about this problem in trucking called detention, right? So like everyone knows, you know, trucks get held up loading and unloading. Sometimes it's a couple hours, sometimes it's a couple days. It's ridiculous. But anyway, a number of studies that took place under Carell's sort of project at MIT, they crunched all the numbers and they basically tried to boil it down, right? It's not, this doesn't apply to everybody in the industry, but in aggregate across the industry, trucking capacity utilization only operates at 60% efficiency. 40% of our time is spent lost at docks, waiting to get loaded and unloaded. And for most truckers, that's like totally beyond your control. You show up someplace, especially if you're a van or a reefer driver, door swinger. Hey, new truck drivers, you want to be successful in trucking? Never pull anything with fucking doors on it. But anyway, you get to a dock and none of this, it's not up to you. Like you're at the mercy of some guy on a forklift and the organization you're delivering to. And Carell told the government, like, there's no driver shortage. The supply chains will work better and be more resilient if you simply utilize truckers' time better. And this industry is rife with customers and facilities that truckers interact with, which are not utilizing their time correctly, right? Fix that, everything else goes away. The problem is that companies don't want to do that. You know, if you're Amazon or Walmart or some DC operations company, like hiring more forklift drivers and having, you know, more staff, that costs money. Oh, we have to pay those people benefits. Oh, no. Just make the trucks wait. We're not paying for the trucks anyway because there's nothing in law that says we have to pay them overtime. There's nothing in law that says we even have to pay them detention. That's like a private negotiation between the carrier and us. So we'll just use carriers that don't charge us, right? There's very few carriers that like negotiate detention time. I mean, there's a few of them out there and they get away with it. But for the most part, all the big guys that are the problem that suckle on the taxpayer tip for their CDL mills and go through drivers all the time, they're the same bad guys that don't do anything about their customers delaying trucks. And then a lot of these, you know, some of the people that have come into the industry recently from other countries, same thing. They don't care. Detention time, what's that mean in Somalia or Uzbekistan or Serbia? None of those guys give a shit. They're over there. Who cares about the truck driver waiting over there? We're still getting our rip. Life's good. So if we want to talk about supply chains and resiliency and logistics and making all this stuff work, we also have to talk about the people and the facilities that truckers interact with. And that's a major problem, and nobody's figured it out yet. I don't know if like legislation would help. I'm a big proponent of the GOT Act because it might light a fire under some asses to get trucks moving. But, you know, I discussed this in the book because, like, as you say, you know, supply chains, like we got to figure this out.
Yeah, you're right, man. And I remember my thought, which actually was kind of going to lead into what your exact point was, is it's this pressure of how important the supply chain is in America, which it is. It is extremely vital to us. We're a massive country. We are the largest importer in the world of almost freaking everything. Even the stuff we make in the country, we import just as much of it. So, you know, I say that to say that, you know, what's the easiest way to get money out of anyone, Gord? It's fear. You know what I mean? When you want government dollars, you create some type of fear. Oh man, if we don't have this, the supply chain's going to shut down. We need more drivers. We need more this. We need so forth, so on. And David had talked about the same thing that you were just saying that he had talking about with you when he came on our show. And we've also had several other people on here with that underlying topic of, you know, the major problem here is the ship, or I want to say a major problem here is the shippers and receivers. You know, I mean, even the place with appointments, you go to an appointment, you back into a dock, and you still wait 2 hours after you back into the dock. What? It's kind of like going to the doctor. What was the point of me making the damn appointment if you're still going to make me wait 45 minutes after my appointment? You know what I mean? And you're right. There is no sense of urgency to them. You know, I mean, yeah, they want the product, but also more product that comes into the building. Now they got to find a place to put it. What they do with this, you know, it's a compounding thing. And here's a funny thing. I don't know about how many people have seen this, but there's actually a place about 50 miles north of me in Waco, Texas, that has been on the news here, and it even made national news on Fox, CNN, a couple other places, where the line to get into this facility was so long that drivers were backed out onto the highway, and the wait was up to 13 hours for drivers to get into this place. Graphics Packaging is what it is in Waco, Texas. You know, I mean, just think about that, dude. That is literally your time off to reset your clock, plus more, just waiting in that line for that one shipper or receiver, because they do both. You know, and so I agree with you, Gord. You know, I mean, there's so many trucks that's in there waiting to get unloaded. If we could utilize that time better and these warehouses find a way, like, dude, you people know this stuff is coming. This isn't a fucking surprise to you. You've been calling me all morning asking me where your truck is. So why is it when it gets there, it sits for 4 hours before you unload it? If it was so important that you were bothering me about
Just
it.
imagine a world, Pedro, where instead of these people calling you and harassing you about where trucks are, they're driving a forklift on the dock and making things move faster instead. Hey, imagine that. Imagine all these freight brokers taking rips, calling drivers constantly. Where are you? Where are you? Even though they have tracking, even though they made you put an app on your phone, even though they have access to your company's Qualcomm. All these fucking retard intermediaries. Sorry, load brokers. A lot of you act this way. Imagine how much better our supply chains would be if instead of sitting around in a fucking office harassing dispatchers, harassing other brokers, harassing truckers, get your fucking lazy asses in a forklift and get the fucking work. Imagine what our supply chains would look like if that was the case.
Hey, that's fine, but I'm taking that out. I'm taking that out of my pay to the carrier. All right.
Yeah.
I'm with you, Gord, man. I am. I think the you know, I've been in this industry, including my time in the military, 20 years actually, as of this month, January. So, and I've been in the civilian side of it like 17 and a half, 18 years. So, man. And that time, I mean, you've been in it longer than me, so who am I to be preaching to the choir really here? But the changes that I've seen, man, when I first got into this, it was log books, you know what I mean? And safety people, they cared about what you did because they had a job and they were trying to mitigate risks of the company. But, you know, I mean, if they knew you knew what you were doing, they left you alone, man.
Yeah,
you know,
I rag on safety people a lot. You know, I don't like them generally, but like I get that they have a job to do. It's just that like our ideas of safety are fake.
Wow,
Our the way it's talked about and the way it's executed and the way that the industry is structured is actually unsafe, because the unspoken thing is safety to a point. Safety to, oh no, that's going to cost us money. Now that's not.
I'm going to stop you here real quick because I tell you, man, I feel. First of all, I want to say I never had a bad safety guy, man. And I won't lie, man. I work for pretty much all mega companies, dude. I work for a subsidiary of FFE, Frozen Food Express. I work for Knight Refrigerated. I work for US Express, McLean, PFG, all multi-billion mega companies. I'm not gonna lie, I loved every single one of them. I never ever had a fucking issue at none of them. I loved all my safety guys, but I don't know if this is still a thing. I've been in a truck in a while, but even the last company I was with, our safety guy was a former driver. It wasn't some dingbat that just took an online course or just worked in a truck company all his life. Like, they were former drivers and they had CDLs. They understood what was going on. Now, I say that to say, here's something that a lot of people don't understand about when it comes to the safety perspective of it, is they're just like HR, man. HR is not there for you. Let's make that clear. All right. And safety is not so much there for you. They're there for the company. They're there to protect the company and make sure that nothing goes wrong with that. And I really think that has become more of maybe like a 70-30 thing where it's 70% the safety guys, hey man, I really care about the driver. I want you to be safe. I want you to do the right thing. 30% let's protect the company. Now it's shifted, man. It is a, 30-70. It is 100% how do we protect the company? How do we get out of this and not be held liable to it? And also think technology has made that worse because now they can track everything and prove everything and, and help themselves. Guys, well, I told you not to do this, or you ran out hours X amount of time ago, so.
Yeah, no, it's all a finger pointing exercise.
Yeah,
I get that. And, we spoke previously about like my experiences down under. The American legal system makes things a bit strange too, right? Like, the British Commonwealth legal system does not operate like ours. The sort of like trigger happy suits and like people being sued for stuff and ambulance chasing lawyers is less of a thing in those countries. They are a thing, but because of the way their legal systems are structured, they're not as much of a thing. And they also have like a sort of different mentality where it regards like the employment-employee relationship. So there's different labor laws, and that kind of affects how all of that stuff works, which is somewhat different than the United States. But you make a good point. Like, yeah, there's some good safety people around. Again, I don't want to harp on them, but like, I think a through line people will see in the book is that like my dad, my grandpa, my uncles, me, we grew up in a little bit more of a laissez-faire thing, but the laissez-faire thing was built on like a sort of unwritten and acknowledged rule, right? Like when my dad was a kid and he wasn't even old enough to drive a truck yet, he like tried to get a job working for this guy named Orley Robertson in Hamilton, just to like help the mechanics, change tires, do stuff in the yard when he was a teenager. And Orley Robertson said to him, "How many grease points are on this particular type of trailer?" And my dad's like, "Oh, geez, my dad's trying to like calculate it and count in his head, like how many times does he have to hit, the slack adjusters and the cam and all that when he's greasing a trailer." And he got it wrong. And like Orley's like, "Come back to me when you know." Right? Like there was a built-in screening mechanism, The guys I used to work for, Earl Paddock Transportation, in the 1960s and 70s and even into the 80s, there was a waiting list to get a job there. Right? Like guys didn't quit and Earl Paddock didn't hire morons. Right? Like they just understood that like we're dealing with like very large trucks and customers' product, and we cannot like you have to know what you're doing. You have to be accountable for what you're doing. You have to be a professional. And that was sort of like baked into the cake of how guys operated. And it was also baked into the cake of the service providers that truckers need, right? So one of the chapters in my book is called Necessary Parasites. And it talks about truck financing. It talks about lawyering and court cases and nuclear verdicts. It talks about load brokers. And, in another chapter, so you mentioned Waco, Texas. A little bit further up the track is Buda, closer to Austin, home of friend of the show, friend of mine, friend of everybody, Mike Lombard, right? So one of my chapters in the book starts out with the Motor Carrier Act of 1980, because this is when like everybody starts bitching about things and they like place all the blame on deregulation. I place some of it on deregulation and say the story is much deeper and more nuanced. So I try to explain to non-trucking people reading the book what deregulation means. So I go through and I talk about the history of the original Motor Carrier Act of 1935. And then I talk about Lombard Brothers and like the history of Mike Lombard's family's trucking company, which went under after deregulation. And then the guys I worked for and my dad worked for, Earl Paddock Transport back home in Ontario, who expanded after deregulation, right? They had like a positive experience and they were able to like use the free market and do things correctly and expand their business. And I talked to Marty Paddock, who just passed away a few weeks ago. Shout out Marty Paddock. God bless you. Thank you for contributing to the book and being a reader of mine. You're out there in the great beyond. He talked and interviewed with me for the book, and then passed away a couple weeks ago. Unfortunately, didn't read it. But anyway, Marty said to me, he's like, look, man, like deregulation was great. It separated the wheat from the chaff, the strong versus the weak, law of the jungle. He said the real regulation in trucking was the service providers. If you were not competent enough to prove to a finance company to lend you money for a truck, you would not get money for a truck. If you are not competent and experienced enough in the industry to get operating credit from the banks, you would not get operating credit from the banks. If you are not competent enough and experienced enough in trucking to get insurance, you would not get insurance. Fast forward from the early 1980s, when he's talking about the change from deregulated to deregulation. Now, easy credit. There's a bunch of different insurance companies who, I don't say this in the book, but I think I'm going to in an upcoming article I'm planning on. I think some of the insurance companies need to be investigated because clearly, if you look around on the highways in 2025, 2026, we have absolute fucking morons going up and down the road with no training, no experience. Some of them just got off the boat from whatever country, crashing trucks all over the place. Who is insuring these fucking people, right? Who is giving them the money for trucks? Who is giving the companies operating credit in order to keep going, right? So the point that, the late Marty Paddock was making was that all of these service providers involved in the business side of trucking got rid of all of their own internal regulations about who they would extend credit to and help out. Now it's just a fucking free-for-all where they don't give a shit. Why is it that they don't give a shit? Why is it that the insurance companies are willing to insure untrained morons that just got here yesterday? I tried to interview insurance people and none of them would talk to me. So when we were at Matt's, you guys are friends with a lady from Idaho named Jessica Hallington, right? She works with an insurance brokerage. Jessica very kindly offered to assist me in my research for the book. So I sent Jessica a list of questions and said, hey, can you find some of your insurers or actuarial people that would be willing to talk to me based on this list of questions? Jessica sent that out to all of the insurance companies she worked with, all of the insurers, the people behind the scenes. Not a single one of those people would go on the record. None of them. Not a single one of these motherfuckers would go on the record to talk about why the insurers are giving insurance policies to people that haven't got a fucking clue what they're doing. I tried to get the insurance industry to talk to me for the book. Sorry.
We all know the answer, man. It's money. Money.
Yeah.
The root of all evil with this whole problem. Government, insurance, doesn't matter who it is.
That's what I think is the biggest. That's what I think is the biggest problem with this industry. I could say it's the biggest problem and the greatest thing about this industry, Gord, is there's too much money in it and it's too easy to make money. And you ain't even got to know what the fuck you're doing to do either. You know what I mean? You can make a crap load of money in this industry knowing what you're doing and make a crap load of money not knowing what you're doing. You know what I mean? And that's the sad part. You've been talking about the barrier to entry, and a lot of the old heads, which I feel like I can include myself in that. That's a term we use a lot, is the barrier to entry. I can't use my story because I feel I would probably fall into that. How did this guy get into a truck thing? But I followed the law to the T, you know what I mean? And I did everything, but I didn't have to go through driving school because the laws at that time in the state of Texas and DOT said that my 8 weeks of training as an 88 Mike in the United States Army as a truck driver far surpassed what their curriculum for a truck driving school was. And all I had to do is just pass the written and driving test, which I did. And I got my CDL, but even me, when I went to the carrier, before they even put me in a truck, I had to pass a road test. And then when I got with my trainer put me through a road test on the first trip. And you had like things you had to check off when you first got with the company, and your trainer was imperative in that issue. They were in a large barrier to entry to you progressing in your career. And man, and you know, after I took, I don't know, probably 4 different road tests before I was actually allowed to drive by myself for the company that I was with. And only one of them was with my actual trainer. And everyone after that was with someone different. And they did that because, well, maybe Pedro's cool with Gord. Maybe Pedro and Gord go for beers after work. So Gord just passed him on the driving test because they're buddies. You know what I mean? So that barrier to entry has gotten smaller and smaller and smaller. And it's just too easy. And I think COVID made it a lot worse. And I think technology makes it worse. Let's be honest, Gord. How much of this shit, if we could stop, if every person that wanted an MC had to actually walk into a federal building and submit the paperwork?
Oh,
just
yeah.
Just think about that one thing. If you couldn't do this online, even if it's just a DMV, but you got to go to the DMV in a state in the United States and you have to submit your paperwork in person. Just think about how much that would stop that one thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, the overseas brokerages and the sort of like, you know, mass parasitism on the industry by outside actors. Like, you know, whatever. We live in the internet age. Not everybody overseas is a bad person, but like, when there's no accountability, if the DOT and the FMCSA cannot execute any accountability for an entity getting involved in the trucking industry because they're in Serbia or Pakistan or Philippines, whatever, that presents a possible threat, right? Like, you cannot go after people who might be liable for something if they're not here, right? And, you know, I hate to pick on this like in-source labor thing, but, you know, like I was on a Twitter space the other night with like Justin and Shannon from ATU and a bunch of the guys. And, you know, this incident in Kentucky was from a couple of years ago was brought up again, where this poor tow truck driver, this guy, his name is Troy. He was helping another motorist. He got killed on the side of the road by like some trucker working for the Chicago Volvo Mafia from Uzbekistan, right? The cops like charged him, let him go, appear in court later, notice, and he disappeared. He's probably back in Uzbekistan. There's no accountability within the United States industry if we continue to allow people to operate in it who are not here, are not physically here, are not, as you put it, walking into an office to register their motor carrier and then bringing all of the stuff with them. Hey, here's a letter verifying that I have X number of years of experience in the industry from this trucking company at this location in the U.S. Here's their phone number. You can call them and check this. There's none of that going on with the way that we are now deregulated. And that's true. The business side of trucking, as Sean Duffy used this phrase in one of his like pressers a little while ago called the Wild West. And somebody else said, no, it's actually anarcho-tyranny, which is also true. But like, you know, the industry was deregulated, which was good on the one hand, but how that the deregulation is structured and how anyone can just like sign up for a motor carrier number, it's preposterous. Being a load broker, in order to be an intermediary, you're supposed to, in order to get like an MC number to be a broker, you're supposed to prove that you have 2 years of experience in the business. Nobody's enforcing this. You know, our friend Danielle Schaffen, shout out Danielle. She is a force of nature. And if anyone's going to fix the trucking industry, it's her. She keeps going on about the chameleon carrier thing. You know, like if your trucking company is registered in an apartment complex with like 30 or 100 or 700 other companies, and there's no actual trucks there and no actual office there, and then everything they do is via Telegram chats, maybe the FMCSA should look into you at very least, you know, and that's not happening.
So I'll touch that last one, man, because that's actually a weird one with me as far as the whole address thing. So I'll back up a little bit, you know, and Man, I'll tell you the people. I want to put some folks on blast. They get shit all the time, but I really don't feel. I keep saying this, but no one picks up on this, and this is where I feel that is a major part of this problem. One of the places that benefits the most out of this is the United States government. $300 every time someone opens an MC. Okay, what is the motivation for these people to truly stop doing this? I'm sorry, I have no problem with Duffy or Bars or anyone else, but give me a break. When there's money involved and someone is profiting, the tendency to want to actually make the problem go away, it's not really that important. Let's be honest here, people. The United States government is a business just like everything else is. They're here to make money. They're profiting $300 and then all the IFTA and everything else from this. So I mean, you can say what you want to say, call me a crazy person, but I'm sorry. Again, when money's involved and you're saying, oh, I'm going to make less money now if I enforce the rules that I actually put in place. Oh, well, wait a minute. Let me look into this and get a panel and all this stuff. You know what I mean? So, I just want to put that out there again, that I really still feel with all the stuff that Duffy and all his people are doing, they're still the biggest part of the fucking problem. The biggest part. You can make all the stupid rules you want. You don't enforce them. It's just like everything else that everyone else. We'll make a law about it. Well, who gives a shit? Make 8,000 laws about it. If you're not going to make someone enforce the law, it doesn't matter. It does zero for anybody. So blow your smoke up someone's butt that wants to buy your lie. Because, I mean, me personally, I don't. Again, that's not a personal attack at any of them. I just feel the agencies as a whole, it's just really not important to them.
Right. I tried. So I tried to be, diplomatic about the enforcement stuff and regulation in the book. I even put at the very end in the acknowledgments that like, hey man, like things are moving quickly. Duffy's doing this, Bart, there's stuff happening, but like between when I finish writing the book in October and when it's published in March, that's 6 months. Who knows what might have happened, right? And maybe they'll finally listen. Maybe they'll finally hire Danielle, whatever. But like, anyway, I don't want this to be like a complaint session about how the industry is regulated.
No, this is a talk. This is like what the book's about. The end of the road. The the deaf American driver, man. Like that's what all this comes into, Gord. Right. You know what I'm saying?
You're right. You're right.
It does. Like because all of these things, man, the people like your dad, the people like you, Long Haul Paul, I mean, all of these old Ron Witherspoon, all these old school drivers, man, that we know, that have been out there doing this for a while, man. Hey, our buddy Tony Justice has a song that like says it perfectly. It's the last of the Cowboys, right? And that is really what it is. I mean, this is the last ride, right? The last hurrah. Everything that makes the American truck driver, the folklore, the things that movies are made about, it's all gone. It's going away. We're going to electric trucks. We're going to autonomous vehicles. We're literally moving in the direction to completely remove the driver from the seat. Everything that the industry is doing right now, I'm sorry, and if you don't see this, you do not know this industry, is literally to kill the American truck driver.
Yes.
Everything they are doing is to take the human out of the seat and kill the driver because, man, paying these drivers what we know they're due, man, we can't be doing that. We can just buy a $400,000 truck and we can put that on the road for 5 years and save all that money without having to pay for some driver.
Right.
And then if we have to have someone in the seat, we could just pay some idiot $15 with the CDLB or whatever, you know what I mean, to sit over there in the truck and watch stuff. So I think all this, it's about your book, man. It's important because they are killing the American truck driver goal.
Yes, yeah, and that's the through line through the book. And thank you. I wasn't saying that like what we were talking about is irrelevant or whatever. I felt myself getting ranty, so I'm trying to check myself.
That's what you're known for, Gord. What else we got?
The book is not an extended rant. It's actually more mellow and it's nuanced and it don't imagine that like the book is me yelling at people. Okay, please don't take that away from our conversation here. But about the replacement of the American truck driver and the end of the road, that's the title of the book. It's a question I ask, from the beginning of the book, is this the end of the road? I have a whole chapter in the book on autonomous vehicles. It starts off with Matt's 2024. Me and my associate James go listen to a presentation from Aurora. And then I get in through the rest of the chapter about various autonomous vehicle companies and the claims they make and the stuff about their technology, about their investors, how this stuff is going to look. There's a person in the autonomous vehicle chapter. Best way I can describe this person is that they work for one of these companies and sent me some intel. I have to keep them anonymous. I won't name the company they work for or the person. And there's some concerning things going on. And then I point out the difference. I've written a couple of Substack articles about this already, about the difference between what the autonomous vehicle companies are saying to the public, what they're telling regulators in the government, and then what they're telling their investors. Only one of these groups are they legally prevented from lying to, and that's investors. They can lie to the government, they can lie to us, they can lie to whoever the fuck they want, but not investors. So where is the truth about what's happening with autonomous trucks? In their investment prospectuses. So I go through a couple of different companies' investment prospectuses, what they say versus what they tell the rest of us. I talk about limitations on technology. I talk about there's going to be, they're not just going to flip a switch and throw us all out, right? There's going to be like steps to this. And, you mentioned hiring somebody with a CDLB and paying them $15 an hour. That's actually what some of these people are talking about, is having babysitters in the truck, right? Like they know that the government's probably not just going to let them like unleash these trucks on the road without somebody minding it at first. And that's going to be a job, basically a truck babysitter where you sit in it while it drives itself and you're supposed to be the safety driver. Well, trucking can be boring. The actual act of driving across Kansas or Nebraska, all truck drivers will admit there are some times when you just have it on cruise control and then your brain is also on cruise control because it's a flat, straight road. But it only takes a couple seconds for an animal to walk in front of you, a bad gust of wind if you're in a windy part of the country, some four-wheeler just comes out of nowhere, somebody has an issue on the other side of the road, comes through the median. Who knows what might happen? If you're completely checked out and not aware, especially if you are one of these people being paid to babysit a robotic truck, will you be able to take over if the robotic truck does not respond to the issue in front of you within so many seconds and prevent total disaster, right? Who is the personality type that they will be able to hire?
Jet fighters only. Jet fighter pilots only, man.
I mean, seriously, can you imagine Pedro Hunter? Like, you guys know, right? Like, would you willingly sit in the seat of a vehicle by yourself that you are not actually driving and in control of, so that you can be a fall guy for when everything goes wrong? Because that's, you just talked about the litigious nature of society and everyone's trying to make sure that they're not the ones responsible or accountable when something goes wrong. The whole idea of a safety driver is not for you to be the safety driver. It's for you to be the shit boy when everything goes wrong. If the system spurgs out, if some other vehicle gets tied up with a robotic truck and the robot truck can't, maybe its safety systems do employ, and maybe it's not enough, and maybe there's an incident no matter what happens. The safety driver is there to take all the blame. End of story. That's it. There's no other reason for them to be there.
So it's funny you say that, Gord, because I just read an article and I still have it saved because I want to post it, but to be honest, I don't think I have the educational bandwidth to convey it properly. But there was an article just came out by a thing here in Texas, because here in Texas, which I absolutely hate that we're doing this, but on the Toll 130, which runs from Austin down to San Antonio, James Year, actually, that was what his documentary was about. James Year, you talked about him earlier. We had him on the show as well. But they're running these damn trucks up and down Toll 130. First off, let me tell you this. The speed limit on Toll 130 is 85 miles an hour. Most people are doing like 90, 95, but most trucks are doing at least 75. I'm pretty sure that's probably what these trucks are doing. But the point of that is they came out with an article asking if one of these trucks causes an accident, everyone thinks that, oh, it's the automation company that runs the truck that's who's going to be at fault. But what if this automation company comes and says, oh, well, all of our systems deployed, they were the way they were designed, supposed to, but catastrophe still happened. We're not liable because everything that we're legally supposed to do was done by our vehicle. So then who's at fault if they're able to walk away from that? Because you can't blame a driver, you can't blame the maker of the truck or anything else. So like that's now a thing they're talking about is like when something does go wrong, an accident happens, who are we holding at fault? And the article went into even more stuff about like damages of freight and all that stuff. Like if there's not an actual human being in control of this, then where does liability start to lie and fall? And with all these contracts, because they went into this too. And you had touched on a lot of these contracts, these autonomous vehicle places are riding, man, they are serious in the wording that removes them from liability from stuff.
Oh, 100%.
And that is a scary fucking thing when these people are saying, oh yeah, man, sure, we'll run this 80,000 pound death missile up and down the highway, but if something happens, don't call us. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, this is the thing is we could get into a deeper conversation about like tort reform, legal reform. Everyone runs away screaming from accountability for anything because, you can blame the ambulance chasing lawyers, you can blame the system, you can blame whoever, but we have a problem here and it's a total and complete cluster. And you can sort of see why these autonomous system companies want to do that because, the one guy I do quote from the insurance side of things, and I had to dig through an old podcast interview I did, which was, he asked me to pull it down because of something unrelated to what I say in the book. But, I asked him this question about autonomous vehicles, and he's like, man, the trial lawyers are just itching. They know that there's a food chain of responsibility, and if they can convince a jury that, like, somehow the autonomous systems company is responsible for this, the lawyers understand the level of venture capital and the amount of money going into companies like Aurora and Kodiak and Torque AI and all the rest of these guys. And so that's a thing. And this is why I'm saying, like, if you want to be a safety driver for one of these companies, fine, but just know that you're going to be the fall guy if something goes wrong. And I'm not here to say or to pass judgment on the technology itself. LiDAR systems, or, how they keep the trucks on the road. I'm not a nerd. I don't know very much about that. Maybe they've got it. Kodiak's operating in the Permian Basin and the trucks go up and down the road out there. They have the technology. Will they be able to sell it to the public? Will they be able to sell it to regulators? Will they be able to figure out the litigious nature of our legal system when something does go wrong? One of the things I identify in the book, there's so this is going to be political. Federalism, right? States have rights. States can do things that are within their purview. So there's a Republican congressman in California. I think his name is Kevin Fong or Keith Fong or something. Fresno guy, interestingly enough. Make of that what you will. He introduced a piece of legislation into Congress that would prevent states from regulating autonomous vehicles. Right? So this is a Republican, right? These Republicans are always about states' rights, incubators of democracy, feds should be kept on a tight leash. Yet, here's these hypocritical Republican fuck in California who's trying to tie the hands of any state from saying, hey, hold on a minute. We want some more assurances from the autonomous vehicle industry that these things are actually safe. Maybe we need to do some more testing, some more miles, safety driver, responsibility, legal stuff. Nope. They're trying to make it so that no state can do anything about autonomous vehicles. And that's wrong.
I agree with that. I mean, I'm not for taking away a state's right pretty much for most things. So I get you, but I don't know, man. That is scary. That is scary stuff, and it just continues with the theme, man. It's the the war on truckers, bro. It is. It's. I wouldn't even Gord, we could take it a step further and say, it's not even really the end of the death or of the American truck driver, but of the American trucking industry.
Pardon me? Can you repeat that?
I said we could take the theme, a little deeper with all the stuff kind of you said and of all the things going on and say, it's not even the end of the road of truckers, but the end of the road of the American trucking industry. The old ways are going back, man.
Well, they are. I mean,
change.
Yeah. So, in the conclusion of the book, so after reading everything I'd sent my editor, right? So let me tell you some more about the process of writing the book. So I have this editor. His name is Bill Kaufman. Great guy. One of the best bosses I've ever had. Hands off. Send me chapters when they're done, whatever. And he took a very, cooperative yet hands-off approach to like helping shepherd me through this process. So after I'd sent him a few chapters, he tells me, he's like, man, you could write an encyclopedia about the trucking industry. I'm like, fuck yeah, dude. Like, there's so much involved here. There's so many layers. There's so much that it connects to that, like, I literally could write an encyclopedia, but I mean, who's going to read it? And, you guys are already trying to cut my book back to like under X number of pages. So like, yes, I could write an encyclopedia, but who would read it? But after that, I'm sending him more chapters, and there's a lot of bad news. Like trucking is a dynamic industry, and it's being stressed out by a number of factors right now, right? We all see it, and Bill says to me, he's like, man, I hope you like wrap the book up with something positive, because it seems like a lot of like negativity and doom, and like what is going to become of the American trucker? Like this, it seems like it's like they're in a bad place. So I tried to say, in my conclusion, I don't want to give too much of the book away here. I want everybody to still read it, but like, there are marginal spaces, and there's hope. Like when we get into these sort of transition periods where like new technology is happening, social upheaval, political upheaval, there's room and there's space for people to like, take a mix and match approach to things. I'm a big fan of like doing things older school. Some people might call me a Luddite. I like, yeah, cool. Lean into it, man. Let's go. Let's like be neo-Luddites. So in this transition period, I think that there's going to be actually a lot of opportunity before the switch gets flipped on autonomous trucks. And because autonomous trucks are going to come in various phases and there's going to be problems, like I don't think that like human truck drivers are going to be replaced writ large across the industry immediately anytime soon. Might be 10, 15 years before they completely take over. And again, the autonomous truck people have said very explicitly that they're coming for the middle mile stuff. So like bang onto a trailer, go straight down the interstate, however many miles. They're, they may not get like P&D stuff. They might not get specialized stuff. They probably won't get hazmats. I don't think the government's ever going to let a hazmat guy trailer go up and down the road without a human minder or something. So there's going to be spots. There's going to be niches within the industry that remain human driven. And as Secretary Duffy and other political actors try and correct the problems brought to us by the ATA and the Biden administration, and to a lesser extent, Republicans that have shoveled money at CDL mills, this is all very bipartisan. In this period where like things are being shaken up and nobody's sure what's going on, I think if you're still an entrepreneurial spirit and you still are a decent, honest operator, like our friend Jamie Hagan, shout out Helbert Hagan, Chris Thomas at Autumn Transport. There's all kinds of like good guys that are still out there. And I believe in my heart of hearts that the value of those good operators is only going to increase in this period between now and when like full takeover of the robots, when or if that ever happens, because I think elements within the industry and the general public and the government are starting to figure out that how the industry has operated in the last few decades has got us to this bad point, and they need actual real safety, real professionals, real service providers, people who are really committed to the industry. And if you can like eke out a marginal operation like that, like, you know, if you're me, maybe it's with an older truck that's ELD exempt, because fuck am I having any of that shit in anything I drive. You know, if you want to go out there and do it, I still think there's room for people to like make a living at this. I don't think it's all doom and gloom. I do not believe it's the end of the road yet.
Well, I'm trying to be optimistic too, man. You know, this is it's the only industry I've really ever called home, you know, besides construction as a young man. So I absolutely love it. And, you know, on to touch on your last point there, you know, we'll trail it off after this, but you know, that safety thing, when they're starting to make these decisions, you know, I really hope they start leaning, which I know that he is, but people like Rob Carpenter, man, they need to start leaning on real people in the industry with real perspective in this safety stuff and these compliance things, you know, when it comes to the AVs and just all the regulations, period, man. Stop relying on folks that have only, and this is no shade towards teachers, but people that have only taught about safety, or, you know, only have written things about it, but have never lived it. So, you know, there's a whole group of folks out there I think they need to be leaning on like that, you know, Sam Watts, Rob Carpenter, Rhythm, you know, she's a good person here in Austin, does stuff. So yeah, as long as they start using, you know, talking to people like that, I think the road to taking drivers out of the seat will be longer, you know, possibly won't even come to the level that people are thinking that it will, you know. So but I personally go way far off from all the stuff they're trying to implement to take the drivers off the road. I think we're rushing a lot of it too much, including the EV stuff. You know, just pushing all those things too quickly, and we just need to pump the brakes. But you know, that kind of goes back to where government money is put into stuff. People are going to find a way to, you know, really hone in on that and trying to push those things and take advantage of it. So with that, Mr. Gord, let's talk winding down. We're at 2 hours. Hunter.
Holy shit, have we been going for 2 hours?
I know, bro. You love hearing yourself fucking talk. It's cool. We get it.
Guilty as charged.
No, bro. I couldn't believe it either, man. Like, we just was here going on and going on and going on. And I'm like, oh shit, Hunter has like a 3-hour drive tonight. So we need to get off.
Where are you going, Hunter?
Alabama.
What's going on in Bama?
Going to a concert.
Who are you going to see?
There's a band called Spafford. This is a jam band.
They're called who?
Spafford. Spafford.
Spafford.
There's some cats out of Arizona, man. They're cool.
Don't ask Hunter, brother. This motherfucker sees the craziest bands. Hunter, who are you going to see tonight? Oh, Moon Chicken Turkey Dinner. Who the hell is that?
I can see that.
Bro, he goes to see the craziest bands, man.
Well, no, but like where I live, right? So like, you know, I'm originally from Canada, but I live in Ithaca, New York now. And this is like, you know, Deadheads, Fishheads. There's a lot of jam band people in my neck of the woods amongst my wife's friends. And so I'm sure somebody around here knows of this outfit, Spafford.
Yeah. I'm going to see Fish in April at the Sphere too. But yeah, them Widespread Panic. That's my shit.
A super trucker, Moon Chicken Turkey Dinner is long haul Paul's opening act. Man, somebody get a screenshot of this. We got to send that to Paul. That's awesome. Yeah. He's gonna love it.
Oh my god.
No, hey guys. Well, thanks for having me. Man, like I say, the book, not including the index and the like, all the links and citations and acknowledgments and stuff. It's 250 pages. I think it's a pretty good read. My editor loved it. I've sent out a few advanced review copies to like writers at magazines who are going to like, you know, give me free advertising. That so far so good, man. Everybody seems to like it. I think I think that one of the things that like I started the podcast, one of the reasons I started my podcast, Voice of Gord, was to give something back to my fellow truckers and give people something to chew on, right? Yeah, all this time driving down the road. And, you know, I brought up academics, and I'm reading all these books about the trucking industry. And one of the things I want to do is interview those people and like have this like, you know, transfer of knowledge between me and the people I'm reading and guys out on the road while they're driving, right? And so I think people will enjoy the audio. I think drivers will enjoy the audiobook. I think they'll appreciate that it's from a trucker, about truckers, to truckers, right? Like this is from my heart as a third generation trucker, witnessing what's going on with the industry, expressing my concern for my fellow truckers, and giving you guys a story and a message to take home that like, hey man, I do care about you. I do care about this industry. And the book is also for like the general audience, right? And one of the things about writing a book is that, like, for better or for worse, with the government, they have these like committees and meetings and expert opinion and blah, blah, blah when they're crafting legislation. When you've written a book on something, you become an expert in quotation marks, right? Like I'm kind of making fun of this, but like it's true. If you write a book on a specific subject and that book is published and it sells numbers, you know, congressmen will be like, hey, come talk to our committee, right? So hopefully maybe this like opens a door for me to go to DC or some state capital and be like, yo, guys, no, you're doing this wrong, right? Come talk to my friends Rob and Danielle. They're going to show you what to do, right? Hunter and Pedro. Here's, you know, David Carell, Stephen Shaw. Talk to these people. Talk to all the things that were in my book, and let's fix this shit up, right? Like a book is like a key to the door of being able to speak to politicians, you know, such as our system is set up, right? So that's part of the reason I wrote it. And again, you know, I want truck drivers to know that there's somebody amongst us who's paying attention and knows what's going on. That's like trying to get the message through the general public's head.
Hell yeah. Fucking Gord, man. I'm sorry, man. Like you're something else, man. I'm just having my own crazy thoughts here. Before we let you go, Gord, we're going to let you give some plugs and stuff. But before we do that, got a couple points here. First off, if you get to speak in front of Congress or Senate, you drop that Ticketmaster link for us.
Dude, I was about to say that.
Bro, that'll be the most attended congressional speaking in the history of fucking Congress right there. I'm telling you, we'll have semi trucks lined up in front of the Capitol building. You know what I mean? Secondly, Gord, we've got a bone to pick with you here. For all of you folks watching, I just want to say, here's a picture of Gord in Australia, and I want everyone to take a close look at that footwear that Mr. McGill is wearing. I don't want to hear not another word from you about people wearing flip-flops.
I never do that. If you go on FreightX, if you read any of my articles, if you go through any of my tweets, I never ever criticize I will say flip-floppers in the aggregate, but like I've said this a bunch of times, there is a use case for wearing flip-flops is when it's 120 fucking degrees outside and you're towing 3 of the bastards and like you're sweating your bag off. There's no reason to wear boots in the truck, right?
I'm just, you know, I had to bust it. When Hunter pulled that up earlier, I was like, wait a minute, is this motherfucker wearing flip-flops? I'm like, oh no, bro, we are not going to let Gord go without busting his chops on that one.
This photo is 12 years old, okay? And I have had my chops busted by many people before you guys. So get in line. Take a number.
If anything, Gord, this is a testament that flip-flops are proper truck driving attire, right? We'll just go with that. There we go.
Yeah, in Australia. In Australia.
125-degree heat. In 125-degree heat. That's exactly what it is. Oh man, Gord, dude, it's always so fun to have you on, man. You're a great guy. Hunter and I are very lucky to call you a friend. I did go ahead, ordered Hunter and myself both a copy of the book while we were on the show here. Unfortunately, I see that it won't be out till like March 24th, so I don't know how we're going to get you to sign it, because I was like, man, I hope it gets here before Matt's, but it won't. So we'll have to find a way to get it to you to get you to sign our copies.
But you guys are going to Matt's, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I'll be there. I'll sign it for you at Matt's.
Well, it doesn't come out to the 24th, so I don't know if it'll get here in time, because Hunter and I will be leaving to Matt's. We will be arriving at Matt's on March 25th, which is a Wednesday.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what we might have to do is we might have to do this. I'm not sure about the delivery date. Like, I am going to be getting boxes of the book, hard copies to sell at Matt's. I suspect that I will get them at some point before the 24th, because I have to leave to go to Matt's, meet you guys, everybody else. So what we can do is I will sign one for you at Matt's, and then you can take the ones that you have kindly purchased.
And we'll gift them to someone.
Gift them to somebody else.
Boom. I'll give them to my
Gift them
dad.
to another driver. Yeah.
I'll seriously give them to my dad. My dad loves the trucking industry. He's like infatuated with it. So I'll give it to my dad.
There's room to like gift a bunch of copies of the book out. So, you know,
Fucking
we'll
A,
do that.
I'm down with it, bro. Hey, all we want is your signature, bro. That's it. You never know. And I forgot the other thing I was gonna say is, and you're gonna hear this here on the lounge first. So when it happens, we can truly claim credit for speaking this into existence. But I have a feeling that after you do your audiobook, this is going to launch Gord into his voiceover career. Could you fucking imagine Gord coming on, come down to buy a brand new Buick at Johnson's Buick?
Oh man!
So yeah.
Rob Carpenter already tried to headhunt me to like go to be a salesman for Volvo or something. So yeah, we'll see about that.
Oh my god, I didn't know you know Rob, man. That's cool. That guy right there, love that dude. Matter of fact, I don't know. I'm gonna have to text him back and ask him. When we're on the show, he just randomly texts me a laughing emoji. I'm about to text him back like, "What are we laughing at, bro?" So I love Rob Carpenter's real good, man. And if you don't know him or you don't talk to him yet, Sam Watts. Him and Rob are really good friends, but Sam Watson's in safety and compliance. He's a really good guy too, man. If you need another plug for that stuff, absolutely love Sam. And he works for an insurance company. Probably wouldn't be able to get him to go on record for anything, but he does now work for an insurance company. So maybe able to give you some insight there too. But Hunter, you got anything before we let Gord give himself some plugs and tell everyone where to go to get the book? Well, I'm sorry, I'll tell everyone where to go to get the book.
Yeah, absolutely. Gord, you're the man. Pleasure as always, dude. Ready to read the book, but I don't know if I'm more ready to read the book or hear the audio book. Because, I mean, talk about driving late night, you know, you'll be calm and then just go off. So
why not both? Why not both? Why not both?
Why not both? That's
Why
right.
not
That's
both?
right.
Right. Oh, no. Guys, thank you so much. You're too kind. Please try not to fillet me in public as much as you do. People will think things that are not true.
Dude, we only speak bad things about you behind your back, bro. Only the good stuff's to your face, man. So don't you worry your little heart about that.
All right. As far as plugging things, yeah, the book is available for pre-order. creedandculture.com. You just look through their list of books, and mine's the third book there. You can order it from them. If you're in the United States, I prefer that you do. It's the same price, same shipping as getting it from Amazon. If you are in other countries, if you are a listener down under or the UK or some other parts of the world, just go to Amazon. I know I criticized them in the book, and I'd prefer there was other ways to do it, but they got the system. It's available for pre-order on Amazon. If you are listening in Canada, Indigo Chapters, the big bookstore chain in Canada, has it available for pre-order. So indigo.ca, search for End of the Road Inside the War on Truckers. You can pre-order it there. If you haven't already, subscribe to my Substack where I host my podcast, Voice of Gord, and I put out a bunch of other writing. autonomoustruckers.substack.com. You can follow me on Twitter X at Gord Magill, GordMagill. Everyone tries to put a C in my name. There's no C. It's just Magill. I will be at Matt's with you guys in Louisville, Kentucky at the end of March. It's going to be a good time. Matt's is a great truckers party. I'm going to try and do the Texas Trucking Show and a number of other smaller trucking shows.
Yes, please do the Texas Trucking Show, Gord.
Yep,
Please do that one.
Our friends at Truck Parking Club are going to like help me out with like desk, table space. I'll probably be hanging out with them at a bunch of shows next year, TBD to be worked out. Buy my book, tell your friends. My podcast is a little behind because like I'm now working full time again. I work for a construction company here in Ithaca. I'm busy building houses. I'm not trucking right now because the industry is a disaster and I'm basically unemployable by most of it. So by my own admission, come find me online. If you want to yell at me, send me an email, tell me I'm an asshole, whatever. Gordylocks@protonmail.com. I love hate mail. It's as good as the good stuff.
I love his email.
If you see me out on the street, you don't have to hand me $5 and tell me things are going to get better. I'm just having a bad day.
Dude, that is so funny for anyone that knows how you dress too, bro. You do dress like a fucking homeless person.
Jeans and a button-up shirt at all times.
Oh, I love you, Gord, bro. You're so freaking awesome, man. I can't wait to see you in March, man. I'm serious, brother. I can't wait to see you in March.
I can't wait to see you guys. It'll be good. You're gonna get to meet my wife, and both of my sisters, and my dad and his wife are all gonna be there. It's gonna be a family affair.
I think we saw your dad last year at Matt's. I thought your wife and kids were with you at Matt's last year too.
No.
Okay.
My wife's never been. My children won't be coming with me. My wife needs a break from them. My sister Rebecca is having T-shirts made with like the book on the back.
Nice.
And they're gonna run around and hand out flyers for me and try and pump it up while we're there. I'm sure we'll all end up at what's the name of that bar downtown? All the Freight X people meet at Patrick O'Shea's or something.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll do that. Reed does that every year, so I'm sure we'll do that. And I'm sure we'll do an after party with Nate Johnson and Bain, Freight Movement. Those people. We'll probably do something on Saturday night with them. And we'll have to have you over to the booth we're doing with Freight Ninja. We'll be doing our podcast again.
Absolutely.
Yes, dude. Because matter of fact, that is. You announced the book on our fucking podcast live at Matt's last year. So it only is fitting to make it full circle because the book will officially be out at that time. Boom. I love when a good plan comes into action with little effort.
Dude, I love the Logistics Lounge. You guys are great. I appreciate your show. A bummer I can't make it to listen all the time live, work and family and commitments and whatnot, but you guys put out a great show. I really appreciate it. It's been my pleasure to work with you guys. We've sent each other guests. We do the thing. We're all trying to make the trucking industry better and all hands on deck. And your guys' platform has been very helpful in that effect.
Well, we appreciate that, Gord. You're very helpful to our platforms. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's definitely two-way street, man. Gord, we're just going to wrap up with sponsor breaks and then our own final comment. So you are more than welcome to hang around for that. Before I get into that, Mr. Hound, you got anything to say before final sponsor breaks? We're moving into comments.
Buy the book and make sure you touch some grass this weekend.
Touch some grass. I love that, bro.
I always touch some grass, man.
Oh, I love dude. You're right, bro. Get some sunlight, some vitamin D in your life. Even though it's winter,
Hey, dude, the weather's kind of nice, man. It's like it's been in the 70s out here.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to give some love to the people that help pay us some bills. First, we're going to talk about SureLineCapital.com. Great folks over there with some funding and factoring options. Got some of the lowest rates in the industry starting out at 2.5%. Of course, you have 24/7 access online, and they just rolled out their app with their really cool domino style tracker that shows the where your funding is at that time. They do free credit checks for all y'all on your customers, brokers, for your shippers, help you out run through your carriers, all kinds of things. You can hit them up at 801-605-8822 or sales at SureLineCapital.com. Then we will roll and talk about our lovely friends over here at Freight Ninja Truck Parking. They have been doing this thing for a couple years now. John, the owner, started out as a trucking company. He realized there was a problem with parking his own trucks and his friends had issues. So he said, you know what? I've got to find a way to solve this issue. But they do it differently. They own and operate every single one of their facilities, all the locations. They're strategically placed along major interstates. They're all the things that you drivers need, whether it be diesel, whether it be repairs, tires, shopping, all of that stuff. You can hit them up at freightninja.com, 844-303-1501, and make sure you use code Lounge Ninja so you get yourself some special rates.
Right.
Next week, we got some good stuff coming up. We have Jake Peterson with us, young man that got in the industry just a few years ago, and he worked his way up from just being a broker agent to buying a brokerage. We're going to talk to him about his time in the industry, what he's seen as a broker, and talk about the hustle. Basically what he did is went from a company driver to an owner operator in a sense, right? So we're going to talk about some of the struggles and some things that he sees on that side of things. That'll be next Wednesday. And then next Friday, we're going to take a step away, kind of sort of from trucking, and we're going to talk about art, but art in trucking, right? See, it's still trucking related. We got our friend Josh Rowan from Rowan Concepts. You ever see all those cool t-shirts and all the truck shows with all the badass designs on the back of them? Well, this man is one of the people that draws all those designs, and he does all kinds of artistic work. So, and they've got one of the baddest Suburbans on the planet, twin turbo, if I might add, in that son of a gun. So we're going to talk to him. Hopefully bring on his son. That'll be a wonderful show. I think that's really it. I think that's it. Gord, you got anything else?
No, sir, man. It's been a good time hanging out with you guys. I hope everybody has a great weekend and a good Friday night. Be careful out there. Be careful on the roads. Hold your loved ones tight. Buy my book and support your local awesome truckers.
I love that. Buy more stuff. Support your local trucker. That's how you do it right there. What about you, Hunter? What you got for us, man?
Yeah, same thing. Everybody be safe. Gord, thank you again, brother. Looking forward to seeing you and meeting the whole family. I mean, we might have to get security for y'all or us.
That's you guys. You're in. You volunteered. You're at. You're my security detail.
Okay, cool.
Y'all are in Texas. You guys got guns and stuff down there. Let's do it,
dude. Hey, on that note, I really hope you come to the Texas Trucking Show, bro. Like, before we end it, if you come, that would be awesome. Hunter doesn't go to it, but we do some really cool shit. We put on a massive after party every year. Every truck parking club comes every year because they help us put it on. Freight Ninja helps us. It's a great thing, dude. We have a fantastic fucking time at the Texas Trucking Show, so I really hope you come to that one.
Yeah, well, hopefully I get down there. I'm looking forward to it. Again, like I say, I want people to read my book, and somebody out there is trying to stand up for us and, tell it like it is. And let's see what happens with the North American truck driver going through 2026.
Oh, yeah. I think it's going to be a good one, man. Hunter does. Pretty much most people we're talking to think 2026 is going to be the changing point. So we're going to be out of here. Like Gord said, love your loved ones. Like Hunter said, go touch some grass. Drivers, if you're out there on the road, please be safe. We want you to get home to your loved ones so you can hug and love them. With that, we're going to be out of here. So I always say, chunk them deuces. Mr. Hound, roll that beautiful bean footage.
The views and opinions expressed on this show by its guests are not necessarily those of Lounge Media Group or the show host. So if you sue someone, make sure it's the party responsible for hurting your feelings. Also, grow up, be an adult, and understand not everyone thinks like you. And that's okay.